Let's talk about the book of Habakkuk, one of the 12 minor prophets of the Bible. Although little is known about Habakkuk himself, it is believed that he lived during the same time as Jeremiah, Nahum, and Zephaniah. His name, which means embrace, may reflect both his closeness to God and the future promise that our Creator will embrace all nations. Habakkuk is a powerful book that explores questions we all have. Why does evil prosper? Why does God seem inactive in the face of injustice? The answers God gives to Habakkuk reveal his perspective on sin and its consequences, highlighting the importance of faith in understanding our destiny. So, in today's video, we're going to dive into the story of this fascinating prophet. I'm Lucas Dario, and you're watching Testimonhando Jesus Cristo, where sin abounds, grace overflows. Before we begin, I would like to ask for your help. Please subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell. If you enjoy the video, give it a thumbs up, as it greatly helps in the production of new content. Now, without further ado, let's get straight to the video. Habakkuk lived in a time when Assyria was no longer a threat, but the power of the Chaldeans, also known as the Babylonians, was growing. He prophesied in Judah, possibly during the reign of Jehoiakim, shortly before Nebuchadnezzar's invasion. The reforms of Josiah seemed to have had no lasting effect, as Habakkuk lamented the injustice and wickedness that dominated his people. God entrusted Habakkuk with the difficult task of announcing the invasion and destruction of Judah by the Chaldeans. The northern kingdom, Israel, had already been taken into captivity by Assyria, and now it was Judah's turn to face divine judgment through the Babylonians. In the book of Habakkuk, the prophet expresses his anguish and questions God. "How long, Lord, must I call for help, but you do not listen?" He didn't understand why God seemed indifferent to Judah's sin. Even though he recognized that God was not ignoring the people's wickedness, Habakkuk needed an answer, and God answers, saying that he would not leave Judah unpunished, but would use the Chaldeans as an instrument of correction. This raises a new dilemma for Habakkuk. How could a holy and just God use an even more wicked nation, punish his people? God then teaches him that all will be judged with justice, and only those who trust and remain faithful to him will live. Habakkuk was instructed to record this vision, making it clear and accessible to all. With God's response and the certainty that wickedness will be punished, the prophet pronounces a series of woes against those who oppose God, especially the Chaldeans, who will not escape the law of God, which rewards and punishes according to our actions. The book ends with a psalm of praise, where Habakkuk expresses his trust in God, despite the imminent judgment. He recalls the great deeds of God in Israel's history, such as his presence on Mount Sinai and the parting of the Red Sea. Even trembling with fear at what was to come, Habakkuk declares, "Yet I will rejoice in the Lord, I will be joyful in God my Savior." Habakkuk was a man of faith, convinced that God would fulfill his promises, and that in the end, the glory of the Lord would fill the earth as the waters cover the sea. The impact of the book of Habakkuk is not limited to the Old Testament. In the New Testament, the Apostle Paul cites Habakkuk several times to emphasize that the righteous shall live by faith. In Acts, Hebrews, Romans, and Galatians, Paul uses Habakkuk's words to teach that faith is the key to salvation, and that the righteous must live according to that faith, awaiting Christ's return. Habakkuk reminds us that even when all seems lost, we must trust in God. Faith is the foundation that sustains us, ensuring that, in due time, we will see the fulfillment of his promises. What can the story of Habakkuk truly teach us? Faith in times of uncertainty. Habakkuk offers us a powerful lesson about the importance of maintaining faith, even when the world around us seems to be in complete chaos, and when it feels like God is distant or not acting according to our expectations. He not only questioned God about the injustices he saw, but also showed us that it is possible to be honest in our spiritual walk, expressing our doubts and frustrations without losing trust in God. Habakkuk's journey teaches us that true faith is not blind. It persists and grows even when we face the most difficult situations, and when the answers seem uncertain. His unwavering faith is an example of how we should remain steadfast, even when our prayers seem to go unanswered. God always responds. The story of Habakkuk highlights an essential aspect of our relationship with God. He always hears our questions and our pleas, even when we do not receive the answer we expected or desired. Habakkuk shows us that God's responses often go beyond our immediate understanding and may not align with what we want. However, the important thing is to keep an open heart, willing to listen, learn, and accept God's will. This willingness to hear and follow God's direction, even when it is difficult or incomprehensible, is fundamental to a life of true faith. Habakkuk challenges us to trust that God knows what is best, even when his answers lead us in unexpected directions. God's justice is inescapable. One of the central themes of the book of Habakkuk is the certainty that God is just and that no one can escape his judgment. Habakkuk witnessed the corruption and injustice of his time and questioned how God could allow it to continue. However, he was reminded that God's justice, though it may seem delayed in human eyes, is inescapable. In due time, all wickedness will be punished, and God in his infinite wisdom can even use the most wicked nations as instruments to fulfill his purposes. This teaching is a powerful reminder that no matter how desperate the circumstances may seem, divine justice will prevail, and evil will not triumph forever. The importance of living by faith. One of the most well-known and impactful verses from the book of Habakkuk is, "The righteous shall live by faith." This statement encapsulates the essence of Habakkuk's message in the gospel, calling us to trust in God unconditionally. Living by faith means completely surrendering our lives into God's hands, trusting that he is faithful to fulfill his promises, even when circumstances seem to contradict what we expect. Habakkuk invites us to adopt a posture of faith that transcends fear and doubt, a faith that remains firm and constant even amid life's storms. He challenges us to live with unwavering confidence in God, knowing that, in due time, we will see God's goodness and faithfulness manifest in our lives. Hope amid suffering. Habakkuk not only faced times of suffering and adversity, but also found deep hope in God's promises. Even amid pain, he chose to cling to the hope that comes from trusting in a sovereign and good God. Habakkuk teaches us to look beyond temporary difficulties and to fix our eyes on God's promises for the future. This hope is not based on denying difficulty, but on a profound understanding that God is in control and that he has a greater plan for our good. Habakkuk encourages us not to lose sight of the light of hope, even in the darkest moments, trusting that God is working even when we cannot see the full picture. And that's it for today's video, my friends. If you enjoyed this content, please give it a thumbs up to help us reach more people. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our upcoming videos and activate the notification